An international climate change panel has recommended planting 1 billion hectares of forest in an effort to curb global warming. And according to a new report, that's theoretically possible. The new report from researchers in Switzerland found the Earth could support up to an additional 0.9 billion hectares of forest, which they say could store 205 gigatons of carbon, 5 times the amount produced globally last year. Joining us with more is Carleton University professor James Meadowcroft, the Canada Research Chair in Governance in Sustainable Development. James, thank you so much for joining us. This feels like the first tangible thing that we can do as not only people, as governments, to help combat climate change. The report estimating the cost of planting this, though, of 0.9 billion hectares of forest is $300 billion. Realistically, is this something that could ever be done?
So it's definitely true that planting trees absorb carbon dioxide out of the air. So if you plant a lot of trees, that's going to mitigate a lot of greenhouse gases. And this is positive, and it's something that countries have to take forward over the coming decades. On the other hand, it's not really a magic bullet. In the first place, there are lots of competing land uses. People would like to do other things with that land other than dedicate it to trees. And it's also true that if we don't stop emitting greenhouse gases through the combustion of fossil fuels, we can't really escape climate change. So it's something to be done, but it's not the whole answer.
When we look at the study, the specifics of the study, it found that in Canada, we can support up to an additional 78 million hectares of forests. James, even if it's not necessarily realistic, do you think that this will force governments to rethink how we are using land?
Yes, I think to deal with climate change over coming decades, it's certain that we have to think about what we put, uses we put land to. For instance, a lot of land is devoted to grazing or to raising crops, which are then fed to animals to produce particularly beef. And this uses a lot of land. People now talk about biofuels that would take land, and as the Earth's population increases, there would be more land required for food production as well. So there's definitely different possibilities here. And finessing them to support the world's population while also dramatically reducing greenhouse gases really is a difficult challenge.
James, we know that we need to focus on curbing our carbon emissions, but on the other side of that, what could the average person do to help capture some of that carbon? Is it as simple as planting a tree?
Well, of course, people should plant trees, and if you own, substantial property, you can plant more. But in the first place, I would say that has to be a collective effort. So it's really about governments and municipalities in the urban environment and things like that, not just individuals. But also there are other things individuals can do besides planting trees. For instance, maybe make your next vehicle an electric vehicle. Or take less air travel, for instance. And above all, I would say, since the action needs to be collective, political action. At the next election, for instance, vote for a political party that wants to take on the challenge of climate change. So people can act in different capacities as citizens, as individual consumers, and so on.
It's a conversation that needs to happen not just at the dinner table, but in every aspect of our lives. James, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. If you like this, be sure to subscribe here.
And you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.